Sarah is a nurse. She works long shifts, comes home tired, and pays her credit card every single month. Not the full balance, she can't always manage that, but the minimum, on time, every time. And yet, month after month, her balance barely moves.
The minimum payment keeps creeping up. The interest keeps growing. She isn't buying more. She isn't taking trips. She's doing everything she was told to do. So why does it feel impossible to catch up? Today, we'll uncover why millions of Americans are feeling the exact same thing Sarah feels, and why the number behind it is far bigger than most people realize. At the end of 2025, Americans owed a record amount on their credit cards, $1.28 trillion.
That's according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, which has tracked this data since 1999. It's the highest it has ever been. So how did we get here? Why are more people falling behind on payments? Who is actually affected? And is it really about people spending carelessly?
And maybe the most important question of all, what happens next? To understand that, we have to rewind a little. For a long time, credit card debt in America was fairly stable. Then the pandemic hit. In early 2021, something surprising happened.
Credit card balances actually dropped, all the way down to about $770 billion. People were stuck at home. Spending slowed. Government support arrived. Many families paid down what they owed. For a brief moment, it looked like Americans were getting ahead. But that moment didn't last. Because as life reopened, prices didn't just return to normal, they climbed. Groceries, gas, rent, insurance, everyday costs rose faster than most paychecks. Here's the part that surprises people. In just about 5 years, credit card debt didn't only recover, it jumped by roughly $482 billion.
That's a 63% increase from that 2021 low. And it's about $325 billion higher than the record set right before the pandemic. So this isn't a story about one bad year. It's a story about a slow, steady squeeze that built up over time. Now, let's go back to Sarah.
A few years ago, Sarah's budget worked. Tight, but it worked. Then her rent went up. Her grocery bill went up. Her car insurance went up. Nothing dramatic happened. No emergency, no shopping spree. Just everything, quietly costing more.
So when an unexpected car repair landed a few $100s she didn't have, she did what tens of millions of Americans do. She put it on the card, just to get through the month. And that single reasonable decision is where the real story begins. Because a credit card isn't just borrowed money.
It's borrowed money that grows. Let's talk about how a credit card balance actually works. In plain terms, when you carry a balance, the card charges you interest. That interest is measured by something called the APR, the annual percentage rate.
APR simply means the yearly price of borrowing that money. Right now, most credit card APRs sit somewhere between 15 and 19%. Some are higher. Now here's the key idea. Interest doesn't just get added once, it compounds. Compounding means you pay interest on your interest.
Think of it like a snowball rolling down a hill. It starts small, but the bigger it gets, the faster it grows, because now there's more of it to grow. At an 18% rate, a balance you never add to can roughly double in about 4 years if all you ever pay is the minimum. Let that sink in.
So why do minimum payments feel like they barely help? Because a minimum payment is designed to keep you moving, not to get you anywhere. Most of that small payment goes toward interest first. Only a little chips away at the actual amount you borrowed, the part called the principal.
It's like walking on a treadmill. You're putting in real effort. You're sweating, but the scenery never changes. That's what Sarah is feeling. She's not failing. She's not careless. She's running on a machine that was built to keep her running, and she's far from alone.
Let's make that $1.28 trillion feel real. It's a number so big it stops meaning anything. So let's shrink it down. If you spread that debt across every household in America, it comes to roughly $10,000 each. Not everyone carries that, of course. In fact, a Federal Reserve study found that fewer than half of adult cardholders carried a balance month to month. That's an important detail. Many people use cards, earn rewards, and pay in full.
For them, a credit card is a tool. But for the households carrying a balance, the weight is heavier than the average suggests. They're the ones actually paying for that $1.28 trillion, quietly, every month, in interest. And more of them are starting to slip. Delinquency, which simply means falling behind on payments, has been rising. By early 2026, nearly 5% of all household debt was in some stage of being late. That doesn't sound huge, but behind that small percentage are millions of real people. People like Sarah, deciding which bill can wait one more week. So who's responsible for all this? Here's where it gets interesting, because the honest answer is no single villain. Let's look at it from a few sides. First, the household. People aren't borrowing for luxuries, mostly. Studies point to necessities, covering the gap when wages don't stretch far enough. When prices rise faster than pay, the card fills the difference. It's not reckless, it's survival math. Second, the banks and lenders. Credit card interest is a major source of profit for lenders. They're not doing anything hidden, the rates are disclosed. But their business works best when balances are carried, not paid off. That's simply the incentive built into the system. Third, the Federal Reserve. The Fed sets a key interest rate that influences borrowing across the whole economy.
When it raised rates to fight inflation, borrowing got more expensive everywhere, including on your card. By late 2025, the Fed had begun lowering that rate again, down to around 3.75%. But here's a quiet truth. Card APRs didn't fall nearly as much.
The gap between the Fed's rate and what you actually pay stayed wide. And fourth, the broader economy. Wages, rent, gas, groceries, all of it shapes whether a family ends the month ahead or behind. Notice something? Every one of these players is acting logically, following its own incentives. And yet, added together, they produce a system where getting into debt is easy and getting out is hard. That's not a story about bad people, it's a story about a machine. But here's what many people misunderstand. Myth number 1, people in debt just overspend. The data tells a more complicated story. A large share of credit card debt traces back to essentials and emergencies. A medical bill, a car repair, a stretch of higher prices, not shopping sprees. Myth number 2, if I make the minimum payment, I'm fine.
Making the minimum keeps your account in good standing, yes, but as we saw, it can leave you paying for years, mostly toward interest. Good standing and real progress are not the same thing. Myth number 3, the total dropped, so the problem is over. You may hear that credit card debt fell in early 2026. That's true, but it's mostly seasonal. Balances usually rise during the holidays and dip in the first quarter. Compared to a year earlier, the debt was still higher. The trend didn't reverse, it just took a breath. Understanding these 3 things changes how you see the whole picture and how you see your own situation. So what can someone actually do with all this? This isn't personal financial advice, every situation is different. But there are a few general things worth understanding. Know your APR. Many people have never looked at the interest rate on their own card. It's the single number that decides how fast a balance grows. Understand how minimum payments work. Knowing that most of it goes to interest first can change how you plan. Watch your utilization. That's the share of your available credit you're using. Keeping it lower can support your credit score over time. Build a small cushion, slowly. Even a modest emergency fund can be the difference between covering a car repair with cash or with a card that charges 18%. And if the wait feels like too much, you're not out of options. Nonprofit credit counseling agencies exist specifically to help people understand their choices, often for free or low cost. None of this is about blame. It's about visibility. You can't manage a system you can't see. Now think about Sarah again. Nothing about her income has changed tonight. Her balance is still there. But something else has changed. She understands the machine now. She knows what the APR means. She knows why the minimum kept her running in place. She knows she isn't foolish or failing. She's one of millions caught in the same current. And that understanding, that quiet, clear-eyed understanding, is where change actually starts. Because debt was never really just about numbers. It's about millions of everyday decisions made by ordinary people meeting an economy that keeps shifting under their feet. Understanding how that happened won't erase the balance.
But it's the first honest step toward taking back control. If this helped you make sense of it, follow along. We untangle one piece of America's debt story every week.